Mr. Wilkerson, a pledge to the American flag from Mr. Pierce, and a pledge to the Texas flag from Mr. Weaver.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. Thank you for your many blessings and all that you've done. We just pray that you cover this meeting, Father, that you give us guidance and wisdom, and we may do your will. Father, continue to bless everyone, bless the students, the staff, the faculty. Continue to be with us as we deliberate and make decisions over the day. Lord, just continue to be with us and keep us, make us men and women that you call for us to be, standing firm on your word. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Follow me, pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please follow me in honor of the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
Thank you for making the adjustment to a new site for today, for reasons that may or may not be explained to you later. And nevertheless, this is where we are, and we're grateful for the opportunity to be here. There is an opportunity for anyone from the public to speak to the board on behalf of your concerns or recommendations or things you'd like to address that are on the agenda, and you're welcome to do so at this time. Seeing none, hearing none, we move to Chancellor.
Thank you, Chairman Towers. Last month, we attended the Texas Association of Community Colleges Texas Success Center Board of Trustees Institute. That was Mrs. Coley and Reverend Powers and myself. The theme of this year's institute is the strategic vision for a new Texas landscape with an emphasis on board support for the work of Texas Pathways in supporting our students. And so it was a fast-paced, information-packed 24 hours, and I believe they learned quite a bit. The focus was on supporting the work to ensure economic mobility for our students. We have a couple of exercises to complete, but I truly believe it was worthwhile. Mrs. Coley and Reverend Towers can share with you themselves their experience.
I found it was very helpful in attempting to understand our finances in the future. It was very informative. Can you hear me? Okay. Informative about House Bill 8 and just recognizing that not only do we not totally understand the impact, that there are the majority of the colleges are in the same position that we are in. They were quite, the leaders there were very impressed that Jimmy and I took the time to attend with Dr. Carter. We heard horror stories about the board's lack of working together. There was a lady at our table that said they can't even get together as a board. There's always some people missing, a number of people missing. They have difficulty making decisions because of that. But we shared with them about our process for a workshop and being prepared for a board meeting, and they were quite impressed. I think she took some notes about some things she could recommend to her board. But it was a very informative, I feel like to some degree, it was information overload. A lot of information. So we just look forward to working with Dr. Carter and the rest of the staff to ensure that we stay on track.
May I add to Brenda's comments about the disparity from other board members that they didn't have the commitment that our board members have. So thank you all for having that kind of commitment to make it to the meetings, be prepared. We bragged on you, which made them feel even worse.
Yes. The Boy Scout Silver Eagle Luncheon, this is an annual luncheon and it typically falls on a board meeting day. And so we typically have a couple of tables and that's where we'll have lunch next week as opposed to in the executive dining room. So we have tables and seats right now. And that is the board luncheon is next Tuesday, 11:30 to 1, the Boy Scout luncheon. in here. Yes, yes, sir. Thank you, General Weaver. It is here in the campus center.
Mr. Gonzalez, you have something for us?
Yes, sir.
Sorry, I wear glasses. Good afternoon, members of the board. I'll be seeking board approval to exercise the fourth option year of the Great Western Dining contract with an end date of August 31st, 2025. If you'll bear with me, I'm going to just read the summary that's provided to you as part of the backup. Great Western Dining is Central Texas College's exclusive provider of dining and catering services for CTC campus. Overall, the administration is satisfied with the level of services provided by Great Western Dining. In accordance with the terms of the contract, on an annual basis, board plan rates are adjusted by the effective consumer price index. The proposed rate increase for the board plan rates for FY 24-25 is a 5.1% increase, and that's in accordance with CPI for food away from home, which equates to an increase of $1.26. Again, the recommendation is that I'll be seeking the board to approve the exercise of the fourth option year. Happy to answer any questions at this time.
Any questions about that recommendation? All right, you also have the business call.
Yes, sir, President. Good afternoon again. I will be seeking board approval of the rate increases. And so again, I'm going to read my summary. I want to seek approval of the following room and board housing rates effective for fiscal year 24-25. The increase will bring the fall and spring semester rates for a single occupancy up to $3,600. For double occupancy during the fall and spring, up to $3,090. And for the summer semester, $2,280 for single occupancy. And for double occupancy during the summer, it would be $2,080. What I provided in your packet, and I believe you got the most updated, the total increases equate to $195 for fall, spring, and $165 for summer. Those are the highest increases that I provide you. You'll actually find out if you were to calculate based on the table that was provided, that the actual increase for the double occupancy fall and spring is $105. And then for the double occupancy and single occupancy for the summer, the actual increase is $165. It's actually a little bit less than max 190.
Any questions?
Any questions?
What's the occupancy now?
So the last I checked for the spring, it was up to 62. That is higher than it has been in the past. Last fall was even higher. In the fall, we're usually at a higher level. And I don't want to misquote, but I believe it was in the 80s. And so occupancy levels have been doing well. In the summer prior to that, we had the most students that we'd ever had, which was around 40. That's a lot. We usually only have about 15 in the summer. So it's good to see that those occupancy levels are increasing and that people are taking advantage of the fact that we have this.
What is the total capacity we can have?
So the capacity, it's actually kind of a moving target. So arguably we could have probably 130 total people, and that would be a mix of single and double occupancy. Generally, we try to split it down to where, and again, I haven't had this exact conversation with Mr. Ryan in a little bit, the dorm manager, but generally speaking, we have the RAs, and they take a certain amount of rooms, and then you've got what they try to break up, which is how many double occupancies they want to provide versus how many single occupancies. And I do actually have the room count, but unfortunately I just didn't memorize it. But usually capacity-wise, I would say the sweet spot for us is probably around 105 to 110.
Does that cost include any food service, or is that an additional cost?
No, sir. So the food service and the room rate are both embedded in that singular cost. So unlike if you see other university colleges, sometimes it just tell you this is the room rate, and then separately you got to go do this. We house it all in one. I don't know if there's any benefit or pro or con, but it seems to work.
Anyone else?
Mr. Gonzalez, is this a break-even rate?
No, sir. So the college does benefit from the on the room rate side. So we're passing along the increase from Great Western, and then equivalency, our room rate is also increased, adjusted similarly. And so for that, we do make a little bit of profit off that. I can't say exactly how much, just because I don't have that number off the top of my head. But when I've looked at the numbers and financials and had conversations with Mr. Barton and Mr. Harmson, we do seem to exceed our expenses. Yes, sir.
Are we comparable as far as charging costs for other?
We're actually probably one of the more affordable, and actually, General Weaver kind of addressed this last year. It was the concern that we're kind of giving it away. I would say that it's really the balance that we, as an institution, want to provide to our student. Could we go up higher and be kind of in the middle of the pack? Yes, we could probably go in excess of 4,000 per semester and still be very competitive from a rate perspective. Because if you consider that we're all bills included, right? So if you go to an apartment or anywhere else, you still got to pay utilities, food, everything else that's separate from that. For I think with what Mr. Harmson is going to speak to you about later, I think the approach that we're taking here in this matter is appropriate given what we're trying to do holistically. So I'll just kind of not spoil the fun, kind of leave it at that.
What else? Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Molina.
Well, good afternoon again. I know you see me every month. So this time I have something different. I'm here to request an increase on the flight fees for fiscal year 24-25. The rationale behind this request has to do with expense increases, which encompasses fuel, oil, parts, and repair job increases. Other things like staff, technology repair, and hangar rent are also going to increase, as well as helping to support the future of the program's growth, such as staff expansion and fleet modernization. And as you know, about a year ago, or a little bit over a year ago, presented about the new aircraft. And actually, yours received updates. The first one should be coming into the United States in April. These aircraft are a little more expensive per hour to cost, a little more expensive per hour, which also contributes to the increase on each individual course that this airplane is going to be used for. I also included the same table that you see here in your memo so that you can see it better. I included the courses. These are all flight courses that we offer, and I included the current costs, the proposed, and the amount that they're going to be increased. The percent increase depends, and this has to do with some airplanes, both the equipment that we use for each individual course. Some of them will be utilizing the new aircraft, and the reason why they increase a little higher than others, and including the cost of instruction, which has also increased. The total average percent increase is 31.5%. We wanted to also make a comparison of the rates that we offer or that we charge to other aviation schools, and we decided to use a couple of courses as a benchmark. So the courses that we decided to use as a benchmark are private flight, intermediate, instrument, and commercial, plus multi-engine flight and certified flight instructor. Our program includes from private through commercial, and multi-engine and certified flight instructor are very common courses that students need or choose to take in order to get more options for jobs after they finish. Here's a comparison using the same courses that I showed you before. We have Central Texas College on the very left, and we included colleges like Texas State Technical College, which is also a two-year degree program. And we decided to use universities that have been in the past in flight competitions with us. So obviously there's a broad number of universities in the country. Central Texas College offers 240 hours with the same courses that we mentioned before. And it would, with the increase, it would be $63,257 for the flight training cost compared to the SEC with a 2,700. They offer 298 hours. Oklahoma State University, 65,100, and they offer 230 hours. And Southeast Missouri State University, which costs 60,800, and they offer 240 hours. Hopefully I didn't speak for the class, but it's a lot behind this, of course, but if you have any questions, I'm very happy to answer them.
Any questions? Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Thompson.
Good afternoon. I provided you with a read ahead, so I'm not going to go over that document. Hopefully you had an opportunity to go ahead and review it. What I'm going to go over are some of the highlights from what I have for you. So the first thing, change is occurring, which is certainly going to impact how we serve our students. So I think we're all familiar with a lot of the things that are happening at the federal level, especially with the federal elections. There's a number of proposals that are occurring from the current administration. State changes that are impacting us. We're all aware of House Bill 8. There's a big push to go ahead and continue to draw businesses to the state of Texas. And then look at how we provide programs to our students. And then certainly at the local level, with how we have business relationships, how we interact with the ISDs, et cetera. So certainly it is a different environment than what we've had in the past. In the past, we certainly had longer planning cycles and there was more time for program development. Now I think the expectation is, how can we quickly adjust to what the market is expecting and what our students are expecting? Certainly, there's a major emphasis, as we had talked about, in regards to House Bill 8. Students expect the opportunity to find good paying, employable opportunities. And so that's really where we have to make sure that we're being flexible and providing those opportunities for students. We need to continue to support our students by reinvesting in our strategic goals and priorities. I'm sure this comes up. Dr. Garrett has done a really good job of bringing updates. And then I think you guys approved these strategic priorities for SATs, but I'll go ahead and bring them up again. Enhancing student success, fostering growth and improvement of instructional programs, technology, and learning environments, continuous assessment and improvement of operations and services, modernize, improve, and expand infrastructure and facilities, support and serve our local and worldwide community. Certainly, I think we want to look and take advantage of opportunities for reinvesting in our students. Certainly, that includes human capital, our programs, and facilities. We want to look at continuing to reinvest in student employment opportunities through degrees and credentials of value. As we had talked about last month, we're certainly continuing to look at programs, developing new programs, looking at which programs we could potentially divest ourselves of, and then how we are reinvesting to provide students with more employment opportunities, so that they can quickly go out and find gainful employment. Certainly, this is a major initiative from the coordinating board as well as the state of Texas and the governor. This is a priority for him as well. We want to look at maximizing opportunities that are created by House Bill 8, which would also include reinvesting in students, programs, facilities, technology, people as well. It's really about focusing on what we can do to provide those credentials of value, those certificates, those things that are really going to give our students the best opportunity. A number of fields and stuff that I know that we have been actively looking at would include advanced manufacturing, IT, healthcare, semiconductor. There's been a lot of discussion. ACC has a program, and we've been in contact with a vendor who is looking at trying to go ahead and do something locally. But we certainly want to maximize the opportunities that are available through House Bill 8. We want to look at support to the dual credit and our dual credit students, the partnerships with our ISDs, and then FAST. So as I indicated last month, we will be implementing FAST effective this fall. The rate would be at $0 for students who are FAST eligible, $55 for those who are not eligible. And then those would be reevaluated on an annual basis based upon what the coordinating board chooses to do if they make any adjustments. So next week, I will be bringing a recommendation that the in-district tuition rate be $125 per semester credit hour. The out-of-district tuition rate, $163. And then there's a new program that was in the write-up in regards to a cyber range. We would be, this is brand new, having a differential tuition of $140 per semester. Certainly this is kind of an exciting opportunity where it allows students to have a virtual cyber range where they can take advantage of during several of their courses. So with that, I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
You had stated about investment. Have we looked at investment into different programs also?
Yeah, so it's really a multifaceted approach that we really need to make sure that we're taking. So on one hand, it's which programs are not truly going to give us the credentials of value, which ones are not going to allow students to earn a living wage in a timely period. The state of Texas has a criteria around what that looks at. But I think in order for us to go ahead and continue to be competitive, to continue to meet our students and our business partnership needs, we have to go ahead and absolutely look at new programs. The semiconductor one was an example. They're going to be, there's discussions locally with what we can do to try to develop opportunities around that. I think you're going to see more and more. You're seeing a number of coalitions, partnerships with local communities, other schools, in order to go ahead and try to obtain grant dollars to be able to reinvest in select programs. I think for us, not only the reinvestment in the program, but there's going to be other things tied to that, right? You're going to have faculty to be able to go ahead and look at teaching those programs. You're going to have facilities to be able to house whatever, the learning environment's going to look like. And we're going to have potentially new technology or new equipment, based upon what that looks like. Several of us end up, as an example, toured the BRIC facility up at Baylor University, where they have actually a cyber range. They've got some dedicated space where they actually will go ahead and allow students to kind of battle one another in that type of environment. They have a mock clean room and some of those things. So I think as we look at what that emerging industry is going to be, and I'll be giving some additional updates, the coordinating board is changing how they're looking at some of those credentials of value, and they're going to pull in emerging fields. And so I think there's really going to be an incentive for community colleges like us to say, okay, well, how can we quickly pivot and begin to go ahead and offer programs to students within those areas?
So, we're going to go for, right now, it's $105 semester hour, $125 semester hour, correct? That's what you were proposing for.
Yes, so the current semester tuition rate is 105.
Right.
It was planned to go to 110 in the fall, and we're proposing 125.
So we made an agreement to incrementally, and then with the understanding we may have to adjust a little bit. I understand that, but when I walk around Copper's Cove or go anywhere, and someone knows that I am a trustee, and they just and I vote to increase the tuition
from 105 to 125 a semester higher. Okay, that would make an existing class cost 375 plus fees, right? Okay, so wait, let me finish. Also, to go along with that, we have lots of families in Coppers Cove, Annie Killeen, Nolanville, and Harker Heights. They are struggling, and I know they're struggling because y'all know what I do for a living, and I approach it every single day. They are struggling to make ends meet, and we want them to go to school here, which is a very good college here. But we want them to spend even more money when they're trying to struggle to put gas in the car, food on the table, pay rent. How am I going to justify that to someone that I want to raise their tuition $20 more a semester higher?
So there is a balance. Most schools have a breakout between tuition and their fees. Ours is one overall cost. In the packet that I went ahead and submitted, there was additional information around things that we certainly have available for students to provide them additional assistance. The foundation provides over $600,000 in scholarship. The chancellor awards scholarships to every ISD within the service area. We have Eagle's Nest Food Pantry. We have Eagle Aid. The college has a lot of resources that we provide to students, to families, to help support them if, in fact, wherever they need that additional support. I think there becomes a balance. We're in a different environment specifically related to what the state has done in regards to House Bill 8. And I think, as I have put in here, I think we have to look across the board at all options. We have to look at all, consider, at least discuss all revenues. We have to look at all expenses, and that may mean where else can we go ahead and continue to cut back. And I do have to applaud Mr. Liberty and Dr. Carter when she was there, and Mr. Yiannopoulos and the team. They did an excellent job with helping to manage and keep costs low so that we could go ahead and make it very affordable. I think in order for us moving forward to truly be effective to meet the students' needs, and those are going to be programs that those students are going to come to CTC to learn about and to hopefully leave, that's the goal anyway, with a degree or a certificate of value. We have to be able to reinvest in some of those programs. If we continue to remain and not adapt to what the students and employers within this area expect, I think it's going to be even more challenging for students if they're coming, because then they're leaving. Are they truly able to go ahead and take what they've learned, the education they have here, and quickly apply it? I think we want to make sure that we're positioning ourselves so we can truly help our students. The state is very aware of the fact of the cost of an education, and that's when they look at high demand fields and credentials of value, they take into account the payback period, and that a typical student needs to have a return on investment in a 10-year period of time. And so I think, we are certainly wanting to do that. We can certainly, I was at a presentation that Dr. Garrett had set up for the ISD, the counselors and stuff, and they had talked about how affordable we are with a student attending 2 years at Central Texas College and then transferring over to Texas A&M Central Texas. I think even with what we're proposing, we certainly believe that we are still going to be very affordable. We've got wonderful programs to support students, especially those that may need the support. And I think it's going to allow us the added flexibility to be able to support their needs, employability in the future.
I just feel it's going to just push it out of the reach of people that want to go to school here. whether to be soldiers or seniors coming out of high school. You know, you're talking about 12% increase, is that about right?
I think it was a little bit more than that.
A little bit more than that.
So the other piece, let me go ahead and say, with House Bill 8, you have the passage of FAST, which is included, which means that every student within our service area, with us joining FAST, will have an opportunity to receive dual credit courses if you are if you meet the eligibility, which is if you qualify for free and reduced lunch for $0 for the student. If you're not FAST eligible, it's $55. Previously, you know, we were charging in-district or out-of-district rates, you know, and so students were either paying that or ISDs. I think this allows more students to participate in those dual credit programs, which they may not have been able to before, which means then they may end up, you know, having to pay a little bit more out of pocket. Certainly, I also included some things in here in regards to the military veterans and the military benefits that they are utilizing, you know, to attend and pay for courses, as well as financial aid in the students who are eligible for Pell. We end up sending, and this is a great thing, right? I mean, we're in a wonderful position because in some conversations I had with others, Pell doesn't fully cover the cost of their tuition. In our case, it does the majority of the time. I mean, I guess unless a person takes, you know, an extraordinary, you know, a large number of hours. But then often we're able to go ahead and refund them the difference that they can then use for, you know, for other things. You know, a lot of other, you know, colleges and universities probably can't say that. So again, it's, I think, something that we felt in our conversations that is going to potentially benefit. We believe it will benefit our students moving forward, as well as what we need to do in order to continue to stay, I don't want to say relevant, but, you know, we want to continue to meet the needs of the students in the area. And we believe that this is going to position us.
Well, with this adjustment, does it, how does that deal with the schedule we had brought up?
So what would be proposed is that this, because of the changes that the coordinating board is still making, this would be a one-time adjustment, and then we would reevaluate where we are and come back to the board next year. So I think this basically puts a pause on that 5-year adjustment, and then we can come back. I think if we can come back and say, you know what, things are going well, we're able to go ahead and continue. You know, that may be that we jump back on the schedule. It may be that we want to continue to maintain tuition the way that it is. It may be that we want to go ahead and look at doing something different. Let me say, it's any time that we're impacting costs to the students, that's not taking this, we don't take that lightly. I mean, it's something that I know we've had many conversations about. And I've got a child in college, and I know what that potential impact is for my kids. But I think we certainly know that there have been things that have impacted the college. And again, I just go back to, in order for us to really benefit and be able to make the changes we need, whether that's reinvesting in new programs, new facilities, et cetera, I think we need to go ahead and do this, so.
Just, you know, to help Mark out, add a couple of things.
That's the mic.
Sorry. So, House Bill 8, as we understand it, is a bit of another unfunded mandate. It's had a direct effect, and it's part of the reason why we're having to evaluate this. So, as Mr. Harmson was explaining about FATS, we actually took the opportunity to try to build out a model to understand the implication of it. And without going into the great specifics of it, we can all just do simple math. right? Our dual course credit students are paying 105 right now, and we're being forced by the state. And I say forced, but we all know if we don't enter into this, the market, they'll start flowing to other institutions. Our tuition rate has just been cut in half. And on top of that, now there's going to be likely a larger influx of students on the free and reduced side that are paying $0. And our reimbursement is only $55. And that's free books and instructional materials that come with that. And that's predicated under the statute. So that is an immense immediate financial impact to the college. And I think as we understand, as Mr. Harbison will clarify, the college has held the line as it relates to expenses for several years. And if you can understand, Mr. Lipperly used to say this, we kept cutting and cutting. And eventually you cut so much, right, you amputate, what are you left with? Well, you couple that now with HB8, that we've managed to hold the line through COVID and through all this economic turmoil. And now you add this component on top of it. We're put in this position. This wasn't, I don't believe, the position that anyone wanted. Our hand has somewhat been forced by the state and the action that it's taken and its implementation possibly. So for us to be able to move forward and provide the services that we're looking for, take education into or keep it in the 21st century, and in some places take it into the 21st century, this is part of the reason why. So when we were looking at dorm rates, we tried to keep those down because as we're looking at a holistic approach, I understand exactly what you're saying about, are we putting education out of reach? One thing that I know Mr. Harmson did was he created a table that showed the competitiveness of where our tuition rate falls against our competitors. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that even with the proposed increases, we are still one of the most affordable schools. Why? What you see in our tuition is everything. When you go to McLennan, Temple, ACC, you see their tuition rate. And then if you're smart and you go further, you see then the whole host of fees that come with that. So I understand exactly what you're saying about are we putting education out of reach, but in order for us to provide excellent education, there is going to have to be a give and take. And this is one solution in order to allow us to be able to provide that level of performance for education. Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Anyone else? Question?
And just to speak to Mr. Pierce, we have, when someone is questioning us about the tuition, any of the practices, we have to ensure that we are educated about the whole process so that we have an opportunity to educate them. With the amount of tuition that we will lose or is being changed for $55 an hour, that's almost half of what a student would normally pay. So I don't think that we'll get putting it out of reach. The state nudging us is causing us to make it affordable for more students as opposed to educating fewer students. I don't know if that makes sense to you or not, but I was just kind of thinking about it. I think more people will come. We will have more, and with tuition and books, that's an incredible blessing to be able to do that, even for the families that are most challenged economically. I'll get off my soapbox. I had a question. When will we see the results of an evaluation of the current programs? Maybe you're not the person to answer that. Maybe it's Dr.
Garrett's on vacation, so.
Well, let's call her.
No, she's probably actually watching online.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's currently underway now. I don't know that I can give you a specific date.
As long as we see something that's coming.
Yes,
Because
so
that's
it
really-
is. I know that we actually have a discussion. We're going to be meeting, Dr. Garrett, Mr. Gonzalez, and myself, we're going to be meeting with our department chairs coming up. And that will be one of the items or one of the discussions that we're talking about. They're going to be instrumental in us looking at new programs as well as looking at existing programs and where do we want to go ahead and reinvest those dollars. You're hearing a number of schools that are going to the exact same thing. It's not all about Okay, let's just continue to add, but where do we need to position ourselves? What does that portfolio need to look like going forward? So,
I look forward to
let me, one other thing in regards to, and Mr. Gonzalez did go ahead and say, I think, certainly we're competitive in the rates. In the past, that wasn't actually the case. And I don't, we still saw an impact on enrollments. I can tell you from my kids, it's not, as long as an institution is competitive. For me as a parent, it's about where am I going to get the best education so that my child can immediately go out and find an employable opportunity. Where is my student going to get the best opportunity within the classroom, for state-of-the-art programs, that they're working with current technology, that they're working in an environment that is going to set them up and prepare them well for the future. And I think as we move forward, that's what we as an organization need to look like. And I don't know that necessarily needs to be the lowest cost institution, within the area.
But that's what we used to market. We used to market that we were the cheapest, we were the least expensive. And if we want to get away from that, now all of us have to stop saying it's the least expensive or it's whatever. That's not always, just because you go cheap doesn't mean that's the best product. So I think that we have a responsibility. And you've heard me say this before, we are all marketers for this college, whether we want to be or not. We have a responsibility to talk about the college in such a way. And so let us start with us and not saying that, oh, you should keep the child close to home or it's cheaper out there or it's whatever. But let's talk about what programs we offer and the technology and all the things that you've spoken of today. So I just, it's our own fault if we market ourselves as the least expensive or the cheapest.
I understand what you're saying.
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Carter, I'd like to thank you for the reading that you sent forward. It's very meaningful to me as I look at it. And the thing that draws me more attention is the blue yellow lines here, resources versus expensive. We've done a very good job college-wise of cutting expenses. And now, all of a sudden, even though we're still cutting, our revenues are dropping below that line. Going back to world experiences, when I was posted at the Virginia Military Institute, way back in the last century, I would sit there and teach gunnery. There were 13 active duty military at that institution. And when I got there, I found out that not only was I to teach gunnery, but the state of Virginia wanted me to teach a class for no pay. I taught American history. One of our biggest expenses in any institution is personnel. We got a lot of personnel here. Not a lot of them teach. So I think one of the things we could look at is whether or not our staff and faculty could be called upon to teach a class, regardless of what they're on their position. And that may save some money in the long run. It's a radical step, I realize, but we got to look outside the box. We got to think how we can deliver the very best education with the resources we have available. And I don't see us getting any windfall and getting more resources here based on what the state of Texas is not, that's what our student population is. We need to look inside ourselves and see what we can save, cut corners, and do things a little bit better. I'll throw that out for discussion. That's my statement.
Those of you know General Hoover know that he does have a opinion. And thank you, sir.
Yes. I want to thank staff for researching this, because I thought it was going to be a whole lot higher than what it was, because our expenses, if you look at the expenses, have increased tremendously. Not tremendously, but they have increased more than what they were. We got to realize revenues are down because we divested a lot of things in Europe and other places. Talk about that, you got to make sure, we can't just give it away. We got to make sure that we are having money in to reinvest and do what we need to do to give a quality education. I know we talked about AI. I don't know. I know you have someone looking at that. That there's going to be a point in time where AI is going to be teaching some classes. That's cost savings that could be there. But I really do think that we need to seriously look at the tuition hour costs, because I really, looking at what you propose, I really don't think it's enough, in my opinion. I'm just telling you what my opinion. I'm against raising any rates, but my thing is, I think that we need to make sure that we can put ourselves in a position that we can better serve the students and the faculty. If we continue to cut ourselves, we're going to end up talking about, we won't be able to give the raises that we need to give. We won't be able to retain the staff that we need to retain because we don't have the funds to do so. And we really have to realistically look at this whole thing, and I think you have, and I really appreciate that. But I think you've been conservative on the increase, in my opinion. And that's just my opinion, because we got to look at the expenses. At the end of the day, it's the bottom line that makes the difference. And if we don't start looking at that, we're going to end up putting ourselves out of business. And that's my concern. But I do thank you for this, and I think it really addresses some of the problems that will get us down the road. But then we're going to have to come back again and raise the rates again. If there's other ways we can do this to kind of get the expenses, we've already worked on getting the expenses as low as we can. We got to work on getting the revenues back up. And that's just one option. There may be more.
Yeah, and General Weaver, multitasking among faculty, that's a very good idea. If you're a teacher, professor, or instructor, you should be able to teach different subject areas. You should be able to. You should be prepared to do that. That was expected of me when I was in the Army. As a civilian, same way. My opinion is, and you did a very good job on your assessment of how you put it. I understand where you're coming from. I'm elected. You're elected. You're elected. You're elected. You're elected, and you're elected. Okay, and we have an onboarding trustee, hopefully really soon, and he'll be elected. I'm up, not this May, but next May, and so is Mr. Hollinger, and that new trustee. And I guarantee you that next fall, when you got incoming, because people see dollars and cents, and they're going to say, well, why should I vote for you? Because you raised my tuition $20 a semester hour, and you can explain it all out you want, but they're going to see $20 an hour, and that's my reservation about this. Okay, people think dollars and cents all the time, but $20 an hour is a large, steep to fight against.
One of my takes from the board, Texas College Community College Board meeting we went to, and talking to other board members and other chancellors, they sat and listened to Brenda and I and Dr. Carter talk about the love affair we have here. Everybody getting along well. And somebody asked the question, well, is your board just a rubber stamp chancellor? They should have been at this meeting today. We will do what's necessary, but we will have our opinions as we go along the way. Dr. Carter, did you have something you want to add?
I have all the board members make their comments, because I want to ensure that everyone understands, I support this 100%, otherwise
Mr. Harmson could not have presented it. We're in a different time. And I understand your concern, Mr. Pierce, but I do not believe that $60 an hour will put out of reach a quality education for anyone who wants it. We have a number of resources, as Mr. Harmson outlined, but we also have a number of issues as it relates to expenses that are beyond our control, the sheer number of unfunded mandates that we have. And so to Mr. Wilkerson's point, is it truly enough? Well, we believe that the market will bear more, but we do believe that this is a reasonable request. I shared with you all once before, we have 36% turnover with our employees. So we have cut positions as a result. People are doing more with less. With regard to the faculty, if it were that simple, I would love to tell you it is, but faculty, they have to be qualified to teach those additional courses. So you can't necessarily just step outside of a particular discipline and teach something else. As it relates to employees, I believe there are labor laws that would prohibit us from telling a staff member, you must go teach a class. So while I understand all of that, I really do, this decision, this recommendation was not made lightly. We are in different times. Some of this is not of our doing, and I believe this is the action that we need to take. Thank you, sir.
Thank you all very much. Thank you. Paint us the full picture. Now, Dr. Carter, what else?
Yes.
I don't mean to
Well, I tell you, my travel schedule, next item. So this is actually an update to the last schedule that you all approved. I was invited, and I shared this with you in another communication, I was invited to serve on a new president's panel. SAC-COC has designed a one-day meeting for small institutions and HBCUs tailored specifically for the needs of those of their member institutions. And then I've been asked to serve on a committee, a panel, presidential searches and new president orientation at public institutions. So it's a 75-minute panel. I'm absolutely honored to do that. So that was an addition. And then Texas Pathways Institute, you had already approved. The third item, 2024 All Texas Academic Team Medallion Ceremony. One of the faculty members contacted me. This is an annual event in which the University of Texas and the Texas Association of Community Colleges partner to recognize and celebrate outstanding community college students. And so students are selected, they're nominated by the, Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society Advisor. And so the professor contacted me to let me know that we do have a student who will be recognized that day. And I received an invitation from the organization to come and actually place the medallion and participate in that ceremony. So we're super proud. This also gives our student an opportunity to qualify for the All USA competition. So we're really excited about that. It's a Friday afternoon. It's the same day as our golf tournament, so I will go and say hello and have a great time, and then I'll hit the road and hustle on down to San Antonio. I will do the speed limit, I promise. SAC-COC Summer Institute, that's an annual event, one of two annual professional development conferences for SAC-COC member institutions, and then our annual TAC conference of community colleges. And I think I have one, no, that's it.
Any recommendations from board members? Coley, would you like to get? No. The next item is the announcement of the regular board meeting scheduled for Tuesday, March 26th. However, it will not be at 1 o'clock, it will be at 1:30 as a result of the luncheon. And the board workshop scheduled for Tuesday, April 16th at 1 p.m. Earlier today, the board went into executive session after a fall meeting to start or to continue the process of evaluating the selection for a place for board member. And we took a recess, a pause, so we will go back into executive session after we conclude this meeting. And then, according to the rules, when we complete that time together in executive session, we'll come back in here and you'll all probably be gone, but we will announce if any decisions to be addressed. So thank you for your patience as we work through this process. You're adjourned.